Hello and Happy New Year. It is now 2022, as hard as it is to believe how the time flies. So, today, welcome to this video. We are going to be doing top favorite reads of 2021. I've picked 5 books that were my top favorite reads of 2021. I finished out the year having read 38 books, which is 8 more from the 30 I read in 2020, which I'm very excited about. I'm very happy with how many books I read. So this year I'm setting my Goodreads goal at 40, which is 2 more that I read last year. I think that should be pretty manageable. I know this will be a pretty stressful year of school as I'm taking my language classes to learn French. So I imagine being quite stressed with that as we try to learn another language. Yeah. So, well, let's get ready to talk about the books. I have my bullet journal here with all of my notes on the books. We have, do I go in order I read? I don't own physical copies of some of the books I'm going to be mentioning in this video. So, let's go in order that I read them. I started out the year pretty strong. This first one I read in February. It was one of the strongest books I read in the beginning half of the year, and that would be Okay for Now by Gary D. Schmidt. This is a middle grade historical fiction novel that takes place in the late 1960s during the Vietnam War. It's a spin-off sequel to The Wednesday Wars that follows the character of Doug from that book as his father uproots his family and moves them all to upstate New York. I loved it. Those both books, Wednesday Wars and this one, so good. They're coming of age stories taking place in the 1960s, and they both really highlight the power that art can have on people to understand the world around them, the people around them, and find hope and solace for themselves in reading and performing the works of Shakespeare in Wednesday Wars, or in this book through the art of John James Audubon's Birds of America book, which he sees at his local library and just becomes enthralled by the artwork that he sees and learns to draw for himself. And oh, so good. I read this one through audiobook on the Libby app, and then I actually found this copy at Goodwill this summer, and I really wanted to own a physical copy of this book because they're just so good, and I highly, highly, highly recommend. Loved it. Slight trigger warning would be for domestic violence, which plays a bit of a part in this book and in Doug's family. Highly recommend. Next up, I would have read for one of my summer classes. I actually read this book for one of my summer classes. That is Esperanza Rising by Munoz. Munoz. I know I'm not saying that right. It's another middle grade coming of age story, but I really, really liked this one too. Like I said, I read it for children's literature class, and I had to analyze the book for character archetypes and plot points. And I really think this helped me appreciate this book even more. Basically, we follow Esperanza and her mother in the 1930s as they moved to California from Mexico when Esperanza's father dies, and their privileged life they led in Mexico falls apart in the wake of his death. And as her uncles try to take their land and whole thing. I really like the stories we watch Esperanza grow from kind of selfish, spoiled brat to a selfless and caring young woman, taking care of the people around her and her mother, and really growing. And it was really, really good story. I liked it. I really enjoyed analyzing it, and yeah, it was a good one. Next, the next book I would have read would be Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This one has been on my radar for a number of years. I don't even know when I first heard about this book. I have not seen the movie. This is the movie edition cover, but I do like that cover. Not seen the movie either, which I kind of want to, because Carey Mulligan, Andrew Garfield, Keira Knightley, it's a pretty good cast, and I absolutely adore Carey Mulligan. This was, how to describe this book? Never Let Me Go is a dystopia sci-fi novel that takes place in England. And it's a thought-provoking and melancholic study on human relationships, human nature, and the value of life, particularly human life. And this was so beautifully written and heartbreaking. And reading this, I really understood why so many people consider Ishiguro to be one of the best writers of recent years. And so I was very excited to finally read one of his books. Highly recommend. Very good, very thought-provoking. Greatly enjoyed. The next book on this list would be Circe by Madeline Miller, which is a retelling of Greek mythology. It's engaging, it's moving, sometimes a bit wild for me, as I kind of talked about in my reading vlog I did for this book in September. But the writing and the character arc and the internal journey Circe goes on in this book really got me and made it one of my favorite reads of the year. Very good. You can watch my reading vlog, which will be up here and in the description, for more thoughts on Circe and how I liked it and what my reading experience was with that book. It would put slight trigger warning for this one, this time involving non-graphic descriptions to rape. Just want to throw that out there in case that's something that you need to have a heads up on. That is Circe. Again, the writing on so many of the books this year that I read was stunning. The final book on this list is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This book was, the words to describe this book actually fail me. It was stunning, it was beautiful, it's like a puzzle that explores philosophy and beauty, and it's so hard to describe without giving away spoilers or important plot points that put the puzzle together for you in advance. But it was so good and so unlike anything else I have ever read. I loved it. I greatly enjoy it. I highly recommend it. 10 out of 10. Definitely, probably I think I can say without any hesitation this is my favorite book of the year. So good. Worth the wait. So good. I think most people would like this book. If you're looking for a book that is really good, different, grapples more philosophical questions, and I think if you're someone who generally mostly reads nonfiction, but are looking for like a really good fiction book to spice up your reading life, I would recommend this. If you love fantasy and beautifully written books, I would recommend this for everyone. Read Piranesi. Really good. I think most people would absolutely adore it. 10 out of 10 recommend. That brings us to honorable mentions. These are books that I greatly enjoyed throughout the year. Not quite my top favorites, but they're worth mentioning. First off would be the Amelia Peabody mystery series by Elizabeth Peters, which I have been enjoying via audiobook throughout the year on Libby. It's just lighthearted mystery series, which I can enjoy slowly throughout the year. Generally taking place in Egypt, the turn of the century, early 1900s. We get archaeology, adventure, historical fiction. It's a good time. I wouldn't say the first, I really liked the first one just as an individual book. Some of the later ones I'm here mostly for the characters rather than the individual stories or mysteries of some of them. But I've been enjoying that series, so it bears worth mentioning. Also one that bears honorable mention, 10,000 Doors of January by Alix E. Harrow. I read this one during my fall break. I greatly enjoyed it. It was, again, a bit different than what I normally read. It's an adult fantasy. It takes place in America, mostly during the turn of the century. I really enjoyed this. Beautiful writing. The writing might be a bit flowery for some people. I will put that out there, but I personally enjoyed it. Didn't mind it. I liked it. Definitely not for everyone, but I think it's worth a try, especially if you like portal fantasy, which is a new genre for me, and I really enjoyed it. And finally on my honorable mention list is Unaccustomed Earth by Jhumpa Lahiri. I really love Lahiri's writing. Most of her short stories are a little too sad and unsatisfying for my personal taste, but I greatly appreciate her writing, and in both of her collections that I've read, there's always that one story that destroys me and is so good, and I love it. And so good. That is why that collection's on my honorable mentions. That one story just sells me on her writing. And I love a good short story. That is my top reads for 2021. What were your top reads in 2021? I would love to hear down in the comments below if you've read any of these books that I've mentioned. What were your favorite reads of 2021? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I'll leave a comment below. If you would like more videos like this as we go into 2022, please go ahead and subscribe. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!